You won't believe what happened next. Let me tell you a story. A story about how one night of desperation turned into a war between a billionaire's son and his ruthless father. And how I, just a poor, ordinary girl, was caught between them. It all started on the night I sold my first night. Yes, my first night. Not because I wanted to, but because my mother was sick, dying, and the hospital bills kept piling up. The doctor had looked at me coldly and said, "Without immediate surgery, she won't survive." And I had no money. That's when he appeared. Alexander Steele, the billionaire everyone whispered about. Ruthless in business, arrogant in life, and terrifyingly attractive in a way that felt like danger itself. He made me an offer. One night, with me, and I'll give you the money. I should have walked away. I should have begged, stolen, done anything else. But my mother's face, her weak voice, it broke me. And so I agreed. That night changed everything. His touch was both cruel and intoxicating. His eyes burned with hunger, but his words were sharp as knives. "Remember, you're nothing but a transaction." He reminded me again and again, as if trying to convince himself. When the night ended, I thought that was it. That I'd take the money, save my mother, and disappear from his world forever. But the morning after, that's when his father walked in. Yes, his father. Richard Steele, the real patriarch of the Steele Empire. Twice as powerful, twice as commanding, and shockingly, he wasn't angry to find me in his son's bed. Instead, he looked at me with something unexpected. Admiration. Recognition. I couldn't tell. But then, he reached into his pocket and pulled out something that nearly made me faint. A ring. Not just any ring. The Steele family ring. The symbol of their wealth, power, and legacy. A ring only given to the true bride of the empire. And he said words I will never forget. "You don't belong to my son. You belong to me. Marry me, and this ring and this empire will be yours." I thought it was a cruel joke. A twisted game between father and son. But then Alexander stormed in, his face pale with rage. "Father, what the hell are you doing? She's mine." His father smirked. "Yours? You paid for one night. I'm offering her forever." And in that moment, I realized my nightmare had only just begun. The money saved my mother. But now I was caught in something much bigger. A battle between two billionaires, father and son, each claiming me as theirs. And the ring, oh, that cursed ring. It wasn't a gift. It was a trap. Because the moment I slid it on my finger, my life was no longer mine. But little did I know, this was only the first secret. And the biggest betrayal was yet to come. After that first shocking morning, Alexander refused to let me go. He treated me as if I were his property, surrounding me with bodyguards, locking doors, and even sending threats to anyone who dared look at me. "You're mine," he hissed one night, his eyes dark, almost feral. "No one touches you. Not my father, not anyone." I tried to argue. I tried to tell him I didn't want this. But my voice was swallowed by the cold mansion walls and his unyielding presence. And then the next twist hit me like a punch to the chest. Richard Steele, Alexander's father, called me into his private study. I walked in, trembling, expecting rage, punishment, or humiliation. Instead, he smiled and said something that made my blood run cold. "I'm offering you protection, power, and a future far beyond his petty control. Marry me, and you will be safe. Marry him, and you will be trapped." I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But the man had a calm, magnetic authority that made it impossible to resist. Why are you doing this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Because I see potential, he said. And because my son is too selfish, too blind to protect what matters most. Alexander found out immediately. The fury in his eyes was terrifying. He stormed into the study, knocking over a priceless vase in his rage. Father, she is mine. How dare you? She's not yours. Richard interrupted, his calm voice slicing through Alexander's shouts. One night does not bind her. You have no claim. I saved her mother's life. I gave her everything. Alexander shouted. No, I interrupted, my hands trembling. You gave me money. You never gave me a choice. The tension between them escalated into a full-blown confrontation. The billionaire's son versus his father, both vying for control of my life. And I was the pawn and the prize, trapped in a gilded cage of lust, power, and manipulation. That evening, as I sat in my room trying to process everything, Alexander burst in again. You'll regret trusting him, he warned, slamming the door behind him. This empire, this ring, it's a trap. You don't even know what you're getting into. But I already knew. I had glimpsed the darkness in both of them. And deep down, I realized the father was just as dangerous as the son, but in a different way. And the worst part, neither of them knew I was already plotting my own path. I wasn't entirely powerless. Not yet. As the night fell over the mansion, a secret letter arrived under my door. A letter from someone I never expected, someone who claimed to know the Steele family's deepest secrets. It said, if you marry the father, you will inherit more than the ring. But if you resist, you may lose everything, including your life. My heart raced. My hands shook. I had no idea who to trust or what path to take. But one thing was certain. I was no longer just a girl who sold her first night. I was now at the center of a dangerous game, one that could destroy everyone around me. Tell me, what would you do if both a billionaire's son and his father claimed you as theirs, and a mysterious letter warned your life was on the line? Word count, 5,402, awaiting, continue. Ninsul, continue. Chat GPT soar. Chapter 3, the mansion's dark secret was revealed, and I learned why they both needed me. You won't believe what happened next. Let me tell you how the Steele mansion, which looked so polished and perfect, hid a darkness no one ever dared speak of, and why suddenly, I was no longer just caught between a father and a son. I was their key. It all began when I decided I couldn't just sit and wait for them to fight over me. Curiosity, dangerous, reckless curiosity, drove me to explore the mansion at night. The halls were quiet, the shadows long, and the air smelled faintly of old money and secrets. As I walked down the grand corridor near the library, a hidden door creaked open. I froze, heart pounding, but some inner voice told me to peek inside. What I saw made me gasp. Inside was a small, dimly lit room filled with files, letters, and photographs. And in the center, a large old diary with a golden and steel crest. I flipped it open. The handwriting was elegant but frantic. And then I understood. The diary belonged to none other than Richard Steele's late wife, Alexander's mother. And she had written about me. The girl who will come one day. She's the only one who can save or destroy what I built. I staggered back. What did this mean? How could a diary written years ago know about me? Then a letter fell from the pages. My hands trembled as I read it. Richard and Alexander must find her. Only she can carry the Steele legacy safely. If she is lost, everything is at risk. At that moment, it hit me like a hurricane. I wasn't just a pawn in their battle. I was essential to their family, their empire, and whatever twisted destiny had been planned for me. And then the next revelation shook me even more. Alexander appeared suddenly, his eyes dark, his anger palpable. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, snatching the diary from my hands. "You don't understand. It's why we both need her." Richard's voice came from behind him, calm but sharp. "Need me? You mean I'm part of some twisted inheritance plan?" I whispered, trembling. "Exactly," Alexander growled. "You're the key. And that's why my father's been obsessed with you. That's why he gave you the ring." The night spiraled further into chaos. Secrets spilled out. Alexander had been manipulated by his father from birth. The Empire's power was tied to a hidden agreement, and I was the living link neither of them could ignore. "We need her alive. We need her protected. And we both want her," Richard said, his calm demeanor hiding a hunger I couldn't ignore. I realized then that the game was far bigger than a simple father versus son fight. It was about power, bloodline, and destiny. And I was at the center. But then the first truly shocking twist hit me. Alexander's hand grabbed mine. "You can't trust him. Not for a second. Not ever. And you think I can trust you?" I shot back, my voice sharp, but inside I felt the same fear I had seen in his eyes. "You have no choice," he whispered, leaning closer. And just as the tension reached its peak, the hidden diary fell open to the last page, and I read a sentence that made my blood run cold. "The one who bears the heir will either unite or destroy the Steel legacy forever." It all began when I decided I couldn't just sit and wait for them to fight over me. Curiosity, dangerous, reckless curiosity, drove me to explore the mansion at night. The halls were quiet, the shadows long, and the air smelled faintly of old money and secrets. As I walked down the grand corridor near the library, a hidden door creaked open. I froze, heart pounding, but some inner voice told me to peek inside. What I saw made me gasp. Inside was a small, dimly lit room filled with files, letters, and photographs. And in the center, a large old diary with a golden and steel crest. I flipped it open. The handwriting was elegant but frantic. And then I understood. The diary belonged to none other than Richard Steele's late wife, Alexander's mother. And she had written about me. "The girl who will come one day. She's the only one who can save or destroy what I built." I staggered back. What did this mean? How could a diary written years ago know about me? Then a letter fell from the pages. My hands trembled as I read it. Richard and Alexander must find her. Only she can carry the Steel legacy safely. If she is lost, everything is at risk. At that moment, it hit me like a hurricane. I wasn't just a pawn in their battle. I was essential to their family, their empire, and whatever twisted destiny had been planned for me. And then the next revelation shook me even more. Alexander appeared suddenly, his eyes dark, his anger palpable. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, snatching the diary from my hands. "You don't understand. It's why we both need her." Richard's voice came from behind him, calm but sharp. "Need me? You mean I'm part of some twisted inheritance plan?" I whispered, trembling. "Exactly," Alexander growled. "You're the key. And that's why my father's been obsessed with you. That's why he gave you the ring." The night spiraled further into chaos. Secrets spilled out. Alexander had been manipulated by his father from birth. The Empire's power was tied to a hidden agreement, and I was the living link neither of them could ignore. "We need her alive. We need her protected. And we both want her, Richard said, his calm demeanor hiding a hunger I couldn't ignore. I realized then that the game was far bigger than a simple father versus son fight. It was about power, bloodline, and destiny. And I was at the center. But then the first truly shocking twist hit me. Alexander's hand grabbed mine. You can't trust him. Not for a second. Not ever. And you think I can trust you? I shot back, my voice sharp, but inside I felt the same fear I had seen in his eyes. You have no choice, he whispered, leaning closer. And just as the tension reached its peak, the hidden diary fell open to the last page, and I read a sentence that made my blood run cold. The one who bears the heir will either unite or destroy the Steele legacy forever. After the revelations in the hidden diary, I knew I had to get out. I couldn't be a pawn any longer. I packed a small bag, careful not to wake Alexander, and planned my escape under the cover of night. I won't be anyone's possession, I whispered to myself as I slipped through the shadows of the grand mansion. I ran until the city lights blurred, until the night swallowed me whole. I found a cheap hotel and tried to breathe, tried to pretend I could have a life outside their twisted empire. But life has a way of catching up. 2 weeks later, I felt it. A flutter, heaviness that refused to be ignored. My heart raced, not from fear, but from a realization so shocking I sank to my knees. I was pregnant. Not just pregnant. Carrying Alexander's child. Panic tore through me. The escape I had thought would save me now tied me irrevocably to the very men I was trying to evade. Alexander found out first. He appeared at my hotel room unannounced, his presence magnetic, dangerous. His eyes, dark and stormy, softened for a moment when he saw me clutching my stomach. You're carrying my child, he whispered, barely audible. I wanted to escape. I cried. I don't want this. I don't want you. I don't want your father or your empire. But he didn't back down. This isn't just about me or my father, he said, his hand hovering over mine. It's about our child. And you can't run from that. You never could. Then came the next twist. Richard Steele himself. He found me at the hospital when I went for a checkup. Calm, composed, his eyes unreadable, he held the family ring out to me. You're carrying the heir, he said. That changes everything. You can't leave now. Not just for my son. For the Steele legacy itself. I felt trapped. The ring that once symbolized a choice now felt like a shackle. I don't belong to either of you. I shouted, tears blinding me. You always did, Richard replied softly. And then the truly horrifying revelation. The doctors told me the pregnancy was not normal. It was unusually timed, perfectly aligned with an ancient Steele family ritual designed to preserve the heir's legitimacy. Every step I took to escape only pulled me deeper into their twisted world. I realized then that running wasn't enough. I had to play the game and fast, or I'd lose not only my freedom, but my child. Alexander became relentless, and Richard omnipresent. They each offer protection, threats, and impossible choices. And as I navigated the dangerous balance, one undeniable truth hit me. My life and my child was no longer mine alone. The final twist of that chapter came late one night as I sat alone, praying for a sliver of safety. I received an anonymous message. If you think they're the only danger, you're wrong. Someone else knows your secret. Someone who will stop at nothing to claim the heir first. I stared at my phone, frozen. My heartbeat thundered. My choices were vanishing. I realized with a sickening clarity there was no escape. Not from Alexander. Not from Richard. and certainly not from the shadows now hunting me. After the pregnancy revelation, I thought I had a plan. I would hide, protect my child, and perhaps find a way to live a quiet life far from both Alexander and his father. But the mansion had other plans. Richard Steele's obsession only intensified. He visited daily under the pretense of offering protection, but every glance and word reminded me I wasn't free. The ring on my finger, which I had once thought a gift, now felt like a brand, a mark that bound me to the Steele legacy forever. "You know," he said one evening, leaning close, "you can never leave. Not with that ring. It declares your place." I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip it off and throw it into the fire. But it wouldn't come off. It was as if the ring itself refused to release me. Then came a shock I never saw coming. One night, Alexander appeared at my small apartment, not the mansion. Not with the grandeur of wealth or the force of power, but quietly, carefully. His eyes scanned the room, landing on me, and then he froze. "Is that?" he whispered, pointing at the cradle in the corner. I froze. My heartbeat quickened. My hidden baby. My child, the living link to both their legacy and their obsession. I had thought I had hidden the truth, kept it safe from both of them. You have a child." Richard's voice came from the doorway behind him, calm but lethal. "Yes," I said, my voice trembling. "Mine? And it's safe here. Away from both of you." Alexander stepped closer, his gaze intense. "You can't hide this from me or from him." And that's when the nightmare escalated. The ring on my finger began to burn, or so it felt, a literal symbol of the prison I was in. The moment the men realized the child existed, the mansion's quiet war exploded into chaos. Alexander wanted custody. Richard wanted control. I wanted nothing but safety for me and my baby. "I'm not your property," I shouted, clutching the infant. "And you will not take him." "Property?" Richard smirked. "No, you're part of the Steele bloodline. He's part of our future. You can't escape destiny." I realized then that no one, neither son nor father, respected my choice. The ring was not just a piece of jewelry. It was a contract, a curse, a tool to manipulate me into submission. And the twists didn't stop there. First, I discovered that Alexander's fiancée, thought gone years ago, was secretly alive. Somehow she had been watching, waiting for the perfect moment to reclaim what she believed was hers, him and the child. Second, an unexpected ally revealed herself. The nanny I had trusted as a child now confessed to being a Steele family spy, tasked with observing me and reporting my every move. Third, the mansion's hidden passages and security systems had been altered to track my every step, even here. Fourth, the doctor who delivered my baby had been bribed by Richard Steele. My secret was never really secret. And fifth, the child had a mark, a small, barely noticeable birthmark that matched a family heirloom, proving beyond doubt that I was the true mother chosen by fate. That night, I realized the horrifying truth. Hiding was impossible. The ring had bound me. The child had sealed my fate. And both men would stop at nothing to control the future. As I sat in my darkened room, the baby asleep in my arms, a single thought burned through me. I had to fight. Not for the empire. Not for the men. But for my child and for myself. For weeks, Alexander had been at my side, relentless, protective, and terrifying. He promised me safety, whispered vows of protection I wanted to believe, and yet every time I looked into his stormy eyes, I saw the shadow of obsession lurking behind the love. "I'll keep you and the baby safe," he said, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "No one will touch you." I wanted to trust him. I needed to trust him. After all, the mansion's walls, Richard's threats, the hidden spies. It all felt like a cage. Alexander was my only refuge, or so I thought. Then she appeared. The woman everyone believed dead. The fiancé Alexander had supposedly abandoned years ago, stepped out of the shadows. Her entrance was silent, but her presence shattered the fragile peace like glass hitting marble. "Did you really think you could replace me?" she said, her voice soft yet venomous. "Did you really think you could steal everything I earned?" I froze. My baby cooed in my arms, oblivious to the storm brewing. But I understood immediately. She wasn't just angry. She was dangerous. Calculated. She had waited, planned, and now she was back. Alexander's face went pale. Rage and fear mixed in a way I had never seen. "You're supposed to be gone," he shouted. Gone? No. I was never gone. "And now I'm taking what's mine," she replied, stepping closer, her eyes glinting with a plan I couldn't yet understand. The mansion became a battlefield overnight. Richard Steele, learning of her return, didn't act as expected. Instead of intervening, he leaned back, watching the chaos unfold with cold amusement. "Let her play her part," he said quietly to Alexander. "She might just speed up the outcome." And that's when I realized the fiancé wasn't just back for Alexander. She wanted my child there I had been hiding. Every whispered threat, every calculated step, made it clear that the baby was the ultimate prize. The twists that night were relentless. The fiancé revealed she had allies inside the mansion, people who knew every secret passage, every guard rotation. Alexander, despite his promises, nearly handed me over in a heated confrontation to prevent her from killing me. A mysterious letter arrived and signed, hinting that the father, Richard, had orchestrated her return to manipulate us both. The nanny confessed she had been bribed by the fiancé, feeding her information to destabilize my position. And the fiancé, with a shocking calmness, threatened to reveal that my baby might not be fully Alexander's child, or that rumors of adoption could destroy the Steele legacy. Each revelation made my head spin. Every plan I had carefully laid to protect my child and myself crumbled beneath the weight of betrayal, obsession, and manipulation. I realized then that protection was an illusion. Trust was dangerous. And love? Love could be the most lethal weapon of all. Holding my baby close, I understood the truth. I had no choice but to fight. And the battlefield was no longer just between father and son. It was between 3 adults, 1 child, and a web of secrets far older and darker than I could have imagined. It all started when I received a mysterious envelope slipped under my door. No return address. No signature. Just the heavy embossed seal of the Steele family. My heart pounded as I carefully opened it. Inside was an old contract, yellowed with age but written with the unmistakable authority of Richard Steele himself. This must be some mistake," I whispered, tracing the words with trembling fingers. But it wasn't a mistake. The contract revealed the truth. For generations, the Steele family had been bound by a secret clause. Whenever a chosen woman appeared, the one who would carry the heir, she was legally empowered, her rights protected, and her child guaranteed the future of the empire. That meant I wasn't just Alexander's plaything, nor merely Richard's obsession. I was legally and irrevocably the center of their legacy. I sank to the floor, staring at the paper, my mind spinning. All the struggles, the threats, the obsessive attention, they had been orchestrated, yes, but not without reason. I was not a victim. I was essential. And suddenly, empowerment mingled with fear. Alexander stormed into my room moments later, his face a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Where did you get that?" he demanded, snatching the contract from my hands. "It came to me," I replied, meeting his gaze. And it proves that I'm not just yours. I'm a part of the Steele legacy. And no one, not even you, can control me fully. His face twisted with rage. You think this changes anything? My father and I have rules, yes, but that doesn't mean you can walk away from us. I'm not walking away, I said softly. I'm choosing my path. Something neither of you have allowed me until now. Then came the first shocking twist of the day. The fiancée from the dead reappeared, holding a document of her own, a counter-contract she claimed had been signed secretly by Richard Steele years ago, designed to manipulate the heir and anyone who interfered. She grinned, triumphant. You thought you had rights, she mocked. You're just a clause in a larger game. But I had anticipated her move. I had already read the fine print. A hidden loophole revealed that any interference with the chosen mother me would automatically void her claims. Alexander and his fiancée froze. The power dynamic shifted in an instant. For the first time, they realized I wasn't powerless. The second twist came moments later, when the nanny revealed a secret she had held for years. The contract also included instructions for protecting the chosen mother, detailing allies hidden within the empire who could enforce my rights without Richard or Alexander's direct knowledge. So, I'm not entirely alone, I whispered, relief and determination mingling. Never were, she replied, bowing slightly. Then Richard Steele himself entered the room, his expression unreadable. So you found it, he said calmly. Good. That changes some things, and confirms others. You've always been meant for this, for them, for the Empire. I realized then that I was no longer just a pawn or a target. I was the centerpiece, the power in a game that had existed long before I had arrived. And with that came a dangerous responsibility. The final twist of the chapter came when Alexander, his rage and love colliding in a way that made my head spin, confessed a shocking truth. I never wanted you just for myself. I feared losing you not because of desire, but because you're the only one who can control the destiny of the Empire, and I can't bear the thought of losing that power to anyone else. I stared at him, understanding in a cold flash. Love, obsession, legacy, power. They were all intertwined. And I was at the center. You won't believe what happened next. Let me tell you how the people I trusted most turned against me, forcing me to confront the harsh reality. Survival meant outsmarting not just the billionaires, but everyone around me. It started with a nanny. I had trusted her for years, believing she was on my side, a silent guardian protecting me and my child. But one night, I overheard a whispered phone conversation. Her voice, sweet and obedient to me, carried venom I hadn't anticipated. Yes, the mother has the contract, but she doesn't know the loophole. Soon, the fiancé will take the child, she said. My stomach dropped. Every step I had taken to secure my child, to gain control, had been watched, manipulated, and reported. The betrayal hit harder when Alexander confronted me that same night. Why didn't you tell me? He demanded, voice shaking. I thought you were safe. How could you hide this from me? I wasn't hiding it from you. I cried, my hands trembling as I clutched the baby. I thought I could protect him myself. But now, everyone is against me. Alexander's face contorted, a mixture of anger, fear, and guilt. And then came the revelation I hadn't expected. He had suspected the nanny's disloyalty for days, but hadn't told me, trying to shield me from the full truth. You can't trust anyone in this family, he muttered. Not even me. Then the fiancée struck again. She appeared in the shadows of my hotel room, holding a security device that allowed her to track every movement. You think you can hide, she sneered. Every door you lock, every ally you trust. I'm always one step ahead. My mind raced. My carefully crafted defenses crumbled as fear clawed at my chest. I realized that the battle wasn't just between father and son anymore. It was a war involving spies, secret allies, and invisible hands pulling the strings. And the twists kept coming. The nanny confessed she had been bribed not only by the fiancé, but also by a mysterious third party, whose motives remained unknown. A previously loyal family lawyer revealed he had secretly ensured the fiancé's claims would hold if I faltered, putting my child's safety at risk. Alexander's father, Richard, who I thought was my protector in secret, admitted he had manipulated both of us to test my loyalty and strength. My closest friend outside the mansion revealed she had been coerced into spying on me under threat of harm to her family. Even the doctor who delivered my child admitted he had been blackmailed into reporting my baby's health to the Steel Empire. Every betrayal left me reeling. Every truth revealed that I had been dancing on a knife's edge without even realizing it. By dawn, I realized there was only one choice left. I couldn't rely on anyone. Not Alexander. Not Richard. Not the nanny, the fiancé, or any of the hidden spies. If I wanted to protect my child, my life, and my freedom, I had to fight. Alone. Strategically. Ruthlessly. Holding my baby close, I made a silent vow. I would no longer be manipulated. I would no longer be trapped. I would take control of my destiny or die trying. After the betrayals, after the constant surveillance and manipulations, I thought I had prepared for every possible attack. I had created safe rooms, changed locations, and even bribed some minor allies. I believed I was ready. But nothing could prepare me for the secret Alexander had been keeping. It started with a message, a coded one, from an unknown number. Meet me tonight if you want to save your child. Otherwise, all is lost. Curiosity and fear drove me to a deserted warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Inside, I found not just Alexander, but another figure, his late mother's most trusted advisor, someone who had been presumed dead for years. You think you can handle this alone? Alexander said, his tone cold but commanding. I don't have a choice, I replied, my hands clutching the baby tightly. The advisor stepped forward. She is stronger than you know, Alexander. But even she will need guidance. You must decide, will you fight with her or against her? The first shocking twist hit me immediately. Alexander, for all his fury and obsession, revealed that he had formed a secret alliance, not with his father nor the fiancé, but with this advisor. Together, they had been manipulating events behind the scenes, all while pretending to fight over me. Their goal? To ensure the Steel legacy survived through my child, by any means necessary. You're not free, he said quietly. But you can be powerful if you choose to cooperate. I recoiled. Cooperation? With him? After everything? Then came the next twist. Richard Steele discovered the alliance before it could solidify. Furious, he began maneuvering his own hidden operatives, ready to reclaim control. The mansion turned into a chessboard, and at once a helpless girl was suddenly the queen piece everyone wanted to capture. This isn't just about me anymore, I whispered to myself, realization dawning. It's about survival. My survival and my child's. The night escalated further when the fiancé reappeared, having gained information about the alliance. She cornered me in a deserted alley, her presence threatening, her intent clear. Give me the child, she demanded, or you'll regret it forever. I shook my head, fury and fear mingling. You'll never touch him, I said firmly. Then, in a shocking moment, the advisor revealed a hidden truth. The fiancé had been secretly working for Richard Steele all along, a double agent meant to test both Alexander's loyalty and my resolve. Suddenly, the enemy I feared the most was not just her. It was the entire web of manipulation surrounding me. And the final twist to the chapter shattered me. Alexander's voice, desperate and raw, whispered, "You have to choose. Align with me, or risk losing everything. Your child, your life, our future." The choice was impossible. Cooperate with a man who had used me, loved me, and betrayed me, or fight everyone alone, risking the empire, my child, and possibly my life. I held my baby close, staring at both men, realizing the stakes were higher than I had ever imagined. It began at the Steel Mansion, the epicenter of every twisted scheme I had endured. I walked through the grand halls, the baby in my arms, my heart pounding with a mix of fear, determination, and fury. Every step echoed like a drumbeat of destiny. "This ends tonight," I whispered to myself. No more hiding. No more manipulation. No more control. Alexander appeared first, eyes dark with emotions he could no longer hide. Anger, fear, and undeniable love. "You don't have to do this alone," he said, reaching out. "I'm not doing this for you," I replied, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "I'm doing this for my child and for myself. That's the only thing that matters." Richard Steele entered next, calm but imposing, his presence filling the room like a shadow. "You think you can challenge the Steele legacy?" he asked, voice low but commanding. "I don't challenge it," I said firmly, holding up the baby. "I claim my right to protect my child, to live free from your games. That is my legacy." The twists escalated quickly. The fiancé tried to seize the baby, but Alexander, finally choosing his loyalty to me over manipulation, stepped between us. The hidden advisors revealed the truth of the contracts, validating my claims over the child and giving me legal leverage no one could contest. Richard Steele's fury grew, but even he realized that the centuries-old clauses worked in my favor. I was not merely part of the legacy. I was its rightful protector. The nanny, having witnessed my strength and determination, switched allegiance openly, confirming that the child and I were untouchable. Finally, a shocking confession from Alexander. He had always loved me, not just as a pawn, but as the mother of his child, and he vowed to finally fight for my choices, not his father's or anyone else's. The confrontation reached its climax when Richard, his pride and control challenged like never before, finally relented. "You have won," he said, voice tight. "Protect her. Protect your child. The Steele legacy is safe, but you are no longer under my command." For the first time in years, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Freedom was mine, not because the men allowed it, but because I had claimed it with courage, intelligence, and sheer will. Alexander, tears in his eyes, held my hand. "We do this together now. No games. No secrets. Just us and our child." I looked at my baby, sleeping peacefully, and finally understood the meaning of true power. It wasn't wealth. It wasn't manipulation. It was love, protection, and the ability to make choices that no one could take from me. And just when I thought the nightmare was over, a final twist shook me to my core. A letter arrived and signed with a single line. "You may have won this battle, but the Empire always has more secrets." I smiled faintly, heart steady. "Then I'll face them all for my child and for myself."